Now, Claire mentioned it already. One of the initiatives that we support is George the Farmer. And today we have Simone Kain here. Simone is the founder and author of George the Farmer, the book series and video series that teaches kids where their food and fibre comes from. And we have Simone's son, Frank, introducing Simone.
Hi everyone, my name is Frank and I would like to introduce you to my mum, Simone. She's the founder and author of George the Farmer. At George the Farmer, they produce fun kids books, music, teacher resources and paddock to plate videos found on George the Farmer's YouTube channel and ABC iView. George's vision is a world where all kids connect to the earth, food and farm. Come and join the mission. Oh, Mum!
Well, thanks to my son Frank and Yvette for that introduction. As you can see in that video, I get to have a lot of fun at my work. I'm really passionate about agriculture and I love my job. Now, I know that Rabobank is an awesome organisation, but hands up here, how many of you here today love your job enough that you'd be willing to dance around with live chooks, play catch with heavy watermelons, or dress up in a big mascot outfit and dance around in 30+ degree Queensland heat while the occasional naughty teenager pinches you on the bottom or tries to rip your head off? Anybody? Awesome, I'm always looking for new talent, so come and see me later. I'm really excited and honoured to be here today. This afternoon I'm going to speak to you about my journey with George the Farmer, why it's so important that kids know where their food and fibre comes from, and how I've become someone who occasionally gets into a mascot outfit. So I grew up on a farm and I'm now married to a farmer, Justin, who's here today. And he operates our family farming property of mainly beef, cattle and sheep in the southeast of South Australia near Penola. We also have 3 farm-obsessed boys. George, who's 12, and twins Frank and Louis, who are 10. In 1999, at the age of 19, I started my first company. It was a creative agency and it specialised in graphic design and website development. And although, whilst growing up on a farm, I really never pictured myself to be someone who would be involved in the ag sector. But in our creative agency, our clients were predominantly businesses that were associated with primary industries. And of course, our biggest client who ended up being a massive farmer called George. So how did George the Farmer begin? It was 2012 and I was lying on my bed with my eldest son, George, who was 2 at the time. I was very heavily pregnant, that's why I was on the bed, I was exhausted with twins. And I was trying to find some fun farming apps or books to help keep George entertained when his little brothers arrived. He was absolutely obsessed with the farm and any opportunity that he had to go with Justin to the farm, he'd jump at it. And in my search, all that I could find were American or English apps or books that featured an old farmer with a straw hat, wearing daggy old overalls, and all he really did was collect the eggs on his farm and milk an old Jersey cow by hand. Now, this certainly wasn't what happened on our farm. And I thought, where's the character that's telling sequential stories about agriculture and the real story about commercial farming to inspire lots of other kids? And so I thought, there's this amazing opportunity here. I've got to create a character. I'd always wanted to write a picture storybook, and my business partner, Ben, who you saw on the screen before, was getting right into illustrating. And so together we started writing the first picture storybook, George the Farmer Plants a Wheat Crop. But it wasn't long into writing this first story that I came across some really staggering statistics. In 2012, a survey released revealed that 45% of Australian Year 6 kids didn't identify everyday lunchbox items such as a banana, a piece of cheese, or bread from their sandwich as originating from a farm. It's amazing. And this isn't just pertaining to Australia. This is a global problem with regards to food education. For example, in the US, 16 million adults think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. And I'm not joking. And so it was then that I thought, okay, not only does George need to be an inspirational character, he really needs to play an important role in educating kids as well. So 2 years after we conceptualised the idea, I'd had the twins, they took up a little bit of my time, but we launched George the Farmer, the first story, George the Farmer Plants a Wheat Crop, as an interactive story app on the iTunes market. We received fantastic reviews, and we were often featured in the top 10 educational apps on the iTunes chart. And because of the success of the app launch, we received quite a bit of media attention. And this led to the invitation to attend Beef Australia in Rockhampton, where we were asked to speak to the teachers there about what we were doing with George the Farmer and ag education, but also to welcome groups of school children daily to the event. So Ben and I started brainstorming how we would entertain these kids. It wasn't going to work to show them the app in an outdoor environment. And so we thought, okay, we'll write a couple of songs. And so we wrote a few songs, including one that was called We Love Beef. It's definitely not a song for vegetarians. And, but I can't sing, unfortunately. And I had this brainwave, and I thought we should get this massive big George the Farmer made to entertain the kids. And I really didn't think about it at the time, what that meant for me. Anyway, 6 weeks later, we picked up a big blue bag en route to Rockhampton, which contained George the Farmer. And we got to Rocky, and Ben sang, and I danced. And in doing so, I formed a new appreciation for people who get into those mascot outfits, because it is really bloody hot in there. But anyway, George was a hit. And a few weeks following this, we were featured on ABC Landline on a segment on there. And they had filmed us in Rockhampton, entertaining all the kids and engaging with the kids. And then they'd also come back to our home and filmed me in the office and also out on the farm. And after that aired, things started to move really quickly. We soon were asked by event organisers right around the country to attend their events and entertain the kids and bring our big George the Farmer. And we had a jam-packed schedule. And over the years, these events have really been instrumental in helping us to raise our brand awareness. And to be honest, also in helping keep us motivated, because we see people's reactions when we're at these events. It makes us feel really proud. The people who invite us to these events see the need and the long-term value in what we're doing. They connect us with other people for future sponsorships and funding. They incite ideas, and they welcome us into their community. And in doing so, we welcome them into the George the Farmer community and our ongoing story. Another way that we've been able to increase our brand awareness is through videos. So a few years ago, we started producing paddock to plate videos that feature George the Farmer out on a real farm with a real life farmer investigating how produce is made. And once we find out how the product's grown, we then take that into the kitchen and I cook up something delicious with that. And there's lots of singing and dancing involved in the videos, and we even get the farmers up dancing as well. They always say no to start, but they love it once they're up there. And so these videos can be found on YouTube and also on ABC iView and ABC Education channel. And although we launched George as an interactive story app, it wasn't long after launching that we were soon asked for physical copies of the picture storybook, of the actual first story, sorry. And this really surprised me, because I thought we were being cutting edge producing a digital product. But people still love to pick up a physical book. And so now we've published 13 picture storybooks, and that's our main source of income for George the Farmer. George resonates really well with regional people. He's everyone's mate, he absolutely loves sport, and he's really passionate about agriculture. And like most farming families, he's backed up by his really super talented wife, Dr. Ruby, She's a doctor because she has her PhD in agronomy. She's an agronomist and a farmer. And so Ruby appears in pretty much all of our picture storybooks, and often she comes to the rescue in the stories. But if Ruby's not in a book, we always show some female who's involved in agriculture. And that was really important to me because I wanted to showcase in a subtle way that women make up 50% of the ag workforce. Thanks. So the inspiration for George's stories come from friends of mine who are based all around Australia. And I'm sure that later, if I talk to any of you here today, you'd have lots of stories that you can share, funny things that happen on farms that, people's farms that you know. But the very first story was inspired by my husband, Justin, who accidentally ran out of wheat when he was planting the wheat crop, and there was going to be this big bare patch, and how embarrassing. Sorry, Justin. And our fourth picture book, Beehive Breakout, was inspired by a friend of mine, Deb, who works at Agrifutures Australia, and she helps out in the honey and bee pollination program. She told me one day that bees actually vomit the nectar out of their mouths into the hives, and this becomes honey. So technically, honey is bee vomit. And I was like, that is gold. Kids love that. Anything to do with, poo or vomit, it's always a hit. Our 13th picture book, which was just released 2 weeks ago, Haystack Hat Trick. This one was actually inspired by my son, Louis, because he's absolutely obsessed with haymaking at the moment. He watched a YouTube video at the end of last year and learnt how to make a wooden hay bale maker, and which he did. He went out, I don't know where he got the skills to do it, but he went out into the shed and he made this hay bale maker at the age of 10. And so now pretty much after school each day, he's out there taking about this much grass off of our lawn each day, drying it out so he's got enough to make another hay bale, which now we've got a few hay bales lining our shed walls, feeding our new colony of mice, which is awesome. But I wanted to write a story on hay for Louis. So this one combines George's love of cricket with the discovery of a mysterious object in a hay bale. And what that object was to be, I posed to our 170,000 followers on social media to see what they thought should be found in a hay bale. And we received some amazing responses, some really funny things. But one that caught my attention was based on a real life find. And there was a hot air balloon that travelled over a paddock near Horsham, Victoria, and a GoPro was dropped from the hot air balloon into the paddock. And 2 years later, that GoPro was found in a hay bale near Mortlake in Victoria. I thought, that's really cool. So that's what I built into this story, along with hay, but also the twist was that George lost his prized cricket bat at the same time, so I wonder if he finds it. To further support the educational content in our videos, we work with educational consultants to produce curriculum-aligned educators' guides to teach kids in the classroom from reception to Year 4 where their food and fibre comes from. And these resources focus on STEM subjects and to date have helped educate over 100,000 kids across Australia. And we receive amazing feedback. One little girl in Dunkeld, Victoria, had written 6 sentences of text before being introduced to George the farmer. And after she'd learnt from George, she went and wrote 6 pages of text. And it was all on planting a wheat crop. She was that inspired. And that's not uncommon. We often receive a lot of feedback like that from parents or teachers, especially of kids who struggle to learn how to read. Through George the farmer and Ruby's stories, they discover a love of reading and a love of learning. So why is it important that kids know where their food and fibre comes from? As you know, children eventually become adults, and with that, consumers in their own right. And it's really important we start talking to them at a young age, and I'm not meaning high school or even later in junior primary. I mean really early junior primary and even younger than that. The reasons are, education will inspire kids to consider careers in agriculture to help fill the growing workforce requirements. Education will arm kids with the knowledge to be able to make healthy food choices in their future because they'll know how food is produced. And education will dispel false truths about agriculture, raising consumer support for the sector. And so that brings me to our fantastic partnership with Rabobank. At George the Farmer, our vision is a world where kids connect to the earth, food and farm. And this aligns really so well with Rabo's purpose and the Client Council pillars of decreasing the rural-urban divide and increasing ag literacy. The Rabobank Community Fund and Client Council are helping us to raise our profile and tell our story, to help us attend events like the Darwin Royal Show last year, and also to help support book packs into schools in Australia and New Zealand. This partnership will increase the ag literacy of thousands of kids across Australia and New Zealand. And if you're listening here today and wondering how you too can support us personally, please consider telling 2 people in your circle about George the Farmer. We're a really small business and we've got a tiny marketing budget, and there's so many people that still don't know what we're doing, especially in metro areas. So if you know a teacher, if you know parents, grandparents, kids, please point them towards our free videos, resources, or towards our books. It would make the world of difference. We know that kids love George and Ruby when they have the opportunity to get in front of it. So what's on the horizon? Well, apart from producing more George the Farmer books and educational resources, we've got a podcast coming out soon that's going to encourage kids to consider careers in ag. But I've got a really big dream that I've had for quite some time, and that is I want to take George to the world. I want George to be the next Wiggles, the next Bluey. Can you imagine the difference it would make to the ag sector if the next global kids hit was about farming? Amazing. We're a really tiny business and we've got a tiny team. Thank you to Ella who's here today. But I've got big dreams, and I know that one day kids all around the world will be loving learning from 2 iconic farmers called George and Ruby. And when that happens, please know that it's been made possible with your support. Now, I'm pretty sure George is here today. I haven't actually seen him. He was busy this morning. Apparently he was doing the bridge climb, which I was a little bit worried about because I thought with the wind out there today he might have his hat torn off or something like that. But anyway, I think there's enough people here today. I don't know where he is, but if we happen to give a big cooey on the count of 3, he might be able to come out. So if everybody can help me. 1, 2, 3. Cooey! Here he is! Amazing, George. Up you come. Well done. Well, on behalf of George and myself, I'd again really like to thank Rabobank for your support in supporting our vision and our goals in trying to raise the ag literacy of thousands of kids or millions of kids across the globe. Now, George here, I think, is going to hang around for photos, yep, and high fives if anybody wants one. He's a man of very few words, but he never shies away from a photo opportunity. So he'll be out the back in a little while, so please don't hesitate to come up and say good day. Thank you, you've been a great crowd. Well done, George.